everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com. Don't know what that was. Look at our hoodies. And now I'm here with some very exciting wrestling news. We have some news on Shinsuke Nakamura. We have some news on the Bullet Club, Too Sweet, One Sweet, Too Sweet. And we also have some news on the WrestleMania 34 pre-show. Which matches are going to be on the pre-show and which matches are going to be on the main card, on the granddaddy of them all. Does the pre-show count as the granddaddy of them all? Or the granddaddy's brother, younger brother of them all, who no one pays much attention to? I don't know. But let's get straight into it and take a look at all of the news. First up, Shinsuke Nakamura has been talking to the New York Post, and in his piece, or his interview, he said that, well, first of all, he said that he's really looking forward to his match against AJ Styles at WrestleMania, which, you know, isn't a surprise. It's going to be a wonderful match, but he said that he doesn't care about match quality, star ratings, whether it's going to be 5, 6, 7 stars or whatever. He's just concentrating on having a really good match, and, you know, hopefully he wants to also win the WWE Championship as well. But the most important or the most interesting part of this interview was when he said that a dream match for him, and one which is now very viable indeed, would be a match against Daniel Bryan. Nakamura pointed out that he was disappointed when he first joined WWE because Daniel Bryan obviously couldn't compete anymore and it was always a dream match of his and he always wanted to wrestle Daniel Bryan. And now it seems as though that could actually happen. And now that Nakamura has thrown it out there, could fans really seize upon this and maybe convince WWE to book the match? Who knows? I don't really know what the plans are for Daniel Bryan, but the scope and range of dream matches that he could have in the months following WrestleMania is absolutely off the charts. Now, I don't think there's any question of whether a match between Shinsuke and Daniel Bryan will be very good or not. Surely, if both men are allowed to cut loose and really do what they do best, then it would be a phenomenal match. But the interesting thing here is that if Nakamura obviously wins at WrestleMania 34, then he will be WWE Champion. Can you imagine Daniel Bryan being in a WWE Championship match? And can you imagine how much the fans would want him to win that match? I mean, even the thought of Daniel Bryan becoming WWE Champion once again after such an unlikely return to action, it just giving me chills, giving me shivers, guys, shivers. Now, I don't know how possible this match actually is, but I like the fact that Shinsuke's put it out there. I really like the fact that he's gone, look, I want that match against Daniel Bryan, because you'd imagine that Daniel Bryan, if he is about this, he'll also say something on Twitter or something like, look, I want that match against Shinsuke. I can only see that happening, unless there's some kind of heat between them backstage, but I really don't think that's the case. I think both men would push each other to the limit in the match, and I think that they'd have a really nice, well-structured match, because Shinsuke has often been criticised for his WWE matches since moving to the main roster and not being able to adapt very well to the WWE main roster sports entertainment style. I think he could do really well in a match against someone who really mastered the transition from indie wrestling or non-WWE wrestling to a more sports entertainment style. That's also why I think his match against AJ Styles at Mania is going to be very good indeed, simply because AJ is the same. He wrestled everywhere apart from WWE and then came to WWE and made the style his own. In other news, Cody Rhodes, dastardly old Cody Rhodes, has been teasing that he wants to include 2 new members of the Bullet Club, both women, he says, at a recent Ring of Honor fan Q&A session. He didn't specify who those names were, but there have been a few names and rumours circulating online in the time since. Many people assume that one of those names is going to be Tennille Dashwood, formerly known as WWE's Emma, the Australian wrestler. She already looks like a Bullet Club member, I think. She's all cool and badass, and she's got those sunglasses that she wears during her entrance, and you can see her fitting in pretty easily and naturally into the Bullet Club aesthetic. Another name that's been bandied about, maybe not as seriously, but I'd quite like to see it happen, if only to see what they do with her, is Summer Rae. Now, Summer Rae was never one of the most lauded women on the WWE roster for her wrestling ability, but a lot of people agreed that she was one of the most charismatic heels on the roster, and a different type of heel to the kind of more sarcastic, manipulative Alexa Bliss. Summer Rae was more of an out-and-out annoying heel, really good at that sort of old-school heel style, and I'd like to see her in Bullet Club as well. I'd enjoy seeing her lose her mind on the outside while something was going on in the ring. I don't know how much I'd like to see her get involved in matches too much. Honestly, I don't really even remember how good a wrestler she was or whether she was given the chance to improve much, but I think she'd be a good addition also. Or maybe there's a third possibility that Cody could just be talking about Brandi Rhodes in heelish fashion. We all assume that Brandi is already a member of the Bullet Club, but if she was one of the women that Cody's talking about, that would just be more proper, legitimate heel heat on Cody, and he seems to be becoming the master of garnering that heat despite being in one of the coolest, most popular factions in the history of wrestling. Good on you, Cody. Please don't make it Brandy. I actually do want to see two new women enter Bullet Club, and hopefully, as I say, one of those is Tenille Dashwood. I think the potential there is very strong indeed. And finally, WWE have officially announced which matches on the card for WrestleMania 34 will appear on the pre-show, and it's quite interesting as well. It's not the most unpredictable division, but it is one with quite a lot of implications in terms of the importance of certain matches on the card. So the three matches officially announced for the WrestleMania 34 pre-show are the two Battle Royals, the men's Battle Royal, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and the match formerly known, of course, as the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal, now simply the Women's Battle Royal. And also the final of the Cruiserweight Championship tournament between Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander. Now, I can totally understand why WWE have singled out these matches for the pre-show. Battle Royals are, of course, kind of a breather sort of match. They're not as serious as some WrestleMania matches, and even though they can have good action in them sometimes, especially towards the closing stages, I think not a lot of people would complain too much about them being on the pre-show rather than the main event, although sometimes they've been used as kind of a palate cleanser just towards the end of the card before the proper big main event. I can totally see as well why both Battle Royals are on the show, because WWE don't want to imply that like the women are more important or the men are more important. They just want to keep that equal, so I get that. But the match I'm most sort of annoyed about being on the pre-show is that Cruiserweight Championship final, well, the Cruiserweight Championship tournament final for the belt. I think that that's a little bit of a disservice to everyone in that tournament who did wonders. They put on some fantastic matches, especially Cedric and Ali, who got all the way to the final, and I think they really deserve that spotlight on the main portion of the show. I still have no doubt that it's going to be a wonderful match, because at least on the pre-show it gets a little bit more time, I guess, whereas if it was on the main card it would be maybe squashed in between a few bigger matches. I guess as well, WWE, in putting that match on the pre-show, kind of want to distance themselves even further from that whole horrible situation with the allegations against Enzo Amore, because he of course was the Cruiserweight champion before he was let go and had to vacate the belt. So I think maybe by not putting it on the main show, they're drawing a firm line underneath that whole situation and saying this is a new start, this is where the championship's being decided, but it's not going to be part of the wider WrestleMania legacy on a main card. That's all for now. Thank you very much for watching this news update. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack the Jobber, and all of us at Cultaholic. And as well, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, to join us.